This is the plaintiff, Fletcher Long. He says he rented his house to the defendant, and now that COVID has hit, he can't get him to leave or even evict him. The strange guy removed the sauna he installed in the house in 2005 and stole his riding lawnmower. He doesn't know what the problem is with the defendant, but he can't just go around stealing and destroying other people's property. He's suing for $6,799 for missing and destroyed belongings. This is the defendant, Brandon Dietrich. He says the sauna wasn't maintained right. It was covered in mold, and when he brought it to the plaintiff's attention, he said just get rid of it, so he did. This guy's acting like a giant baby now. He treated his house like it was his own, and he should be allowed to live out the remainder of his lease in peace. He's accused of staying put.
All parties, please raise your right hand. People's Court is now in session, and the Honorable Judge Marilyn Milian is presiding. Litigants have been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome, ma'am.
Okay. Mr. Long, you own a home in Seminole, Florida? What's the name of the city?
Seminole County, Longwood, actually.
Yeah, Longwood. I knew Seminole was the county. I'm from Florida. So you are renting that house out to Mr. Dietrich, correct? And there's actually a written lease involved in this rental. At some point, the idea was that Mr. Dietrich, you would buy the home, correct?
Yes.
Like a rent-to-buy kind of thing. And what happened with that?
Everything was going good at first, and then he decided he wanted to bring a, what do you call it, the realtor into the house, and I couldn't be there to show it to other people. And then I said no.
Okay, hold on, back up. How long have you been living there?
About 6 or 7 months.
Okay, and so the idea was that you were going to get financing and buy the place, right?
Yeah, at the end of this year, I was going to get a home loan and buy the house.
How were you going to get a home loan at the end of this year if, according to you in the answer of the complaint, you were supposed to show 2 years of positive income? How is that going to work out?
Yes, ma'am. I already have one.
Okay. All right, so Mr. Long rents to you under a lease that says that either of you can, within 30 days' notice, quit each other. Mr. Long, when is it that you first realized that there's a problem?
Well, actually, I first realized there was a problem when Mr. Dietrich couldn't pay his first month's rent on time and couldn't even bother to inform me. Apparently, he'd had a problem with his cell phone, that he was going to be delayed on his rent. In fact, Mr. Dietrich's pattern has been that of lying and crying and blaming other people for his problems throughout this entire process. He has managed since then to keep up on his rent, but beyond that, it became a matter of the property values fluctuating, and then, as it's clearly written in the lease, either party has the right to terminate the lease with 30 days notice with or without cause. I would have been happy to let Mr. Dietrich stay there and go ahead and rent the house from the new owners, but due to acts hostile by Mr. Dietrich to my real estate agent, he prevented me from putting my own house on the market and selling it. Thus, in addition to stealing and destroying my property, has cost me over $100,000 in lost income, which my wife and I need to purchase a new home.
Okay, let me ask you a couple of questions there. How did you notify him that you were exercising the 30-day clause that's in your lease?
In writing on May 7th, after our discussions and his activities which obstructed my real estate agent, and then further in writing as required by the court for an eviction proceeding, he was sent a certified letter which pointed out all of the relevant clauses in the lease, including that he was not to remove or alter the property in any way without my permission, which he seemed perfectly willing to do while I was overseas in Iraq serving my country. He seemed to just think it was perfectly okay to steal, destroy, or otherwise remove my property.
Okay, so first of all, thank you for your service, and second of all, from when to when were you in Iraq?
From approximately the time that Mr. Dietrich rented the house, which was a lease signed on October 22nd, 2019, until the end of April, beginning of May.
When you came back, when is it that you decide that you want to exercise a 30-day clause? What date's the notice to him? The notice in writing to him is when?
May 7th, 2020, Your Honor.
Okay. And what is the problem that your realtor has where he's, I mean, it sounds to me like, you know, you have actually done a bunch of improvements to the place. You treat this place like it's yours because you're hoping it would be yours. So I could see a situation where you don't really want to make yourself particularly accessible to the realtor because you don't want him to sell it out from under you. Would that be fair to say, Mr. Dietrich?
I made myself accessible to the realtor. She wanted to bring people into the home and I couldn't be there. And I wasn't okay with that. And at that time, that's when he told me I need to leave.
If he tells you, you understand that that's the bargain you struck when you signed that lease. He doesn't have to wait for a year. He doesn't have to give you a chance to get your credit together. He doesn't have to sell you the house. Both of you, if you found a house you liked better, you could have done it to him too. Each of you decided that you would sign something that gave each of you a 30-day out. Do you understand that?
Yeah, I understand that now.
Okay, and he told you, I want you out, I'm exercising the 30-day clause, and you didn't get out.
I did not, no.
Okay, now let's talk about what ends up happening. He is suing you because according to him, without authorization, there are some alterations to the property. Let's talk first about the sauna. According to him, he had installed a sauna and you ripped it out without his consent. Talk to me.
That's not true. I had his consent. It had mold, and I have a witness attesting to that. And then also, yeah, he gave me his consent.
Okay, how did he give you his consent? Because it's supposed to be in writing.
Yeah, he was in Iraq at the time, and that was something we did within the first week of me staying there because I had trouble breathing and we couldn't figure out what was going on.
How'd you communicate with him? Because I'm assuming it wasn't verbal if he was in Iraq.
It was on the phone. All of our...
You didn't email him. You didn't email him, which would have been infinitely easier with somebody in Iraq. No, you called him. How much was the phone call? How much did it cost you? Did he answer the phone?
Me, and then we communicated through phone when he was in Iraq. He can attest to that. Okay. He called me many times.
Right. I'm going to need you to answer the following question. Do you have any evidence that he gave his consent? Because watch this. Did you give your consent for him to rip out your sauna, sir?
Absolutely not, Your Honor. The first I learned of
Right. So that's why a tenant has to, if they're going to throw out someone else's property, they're supposed to make sure they have proof of what they're saying. But in your lease that you signed, not only are you supposed to get it in writing, but you're supposed to send before and after pictures, you see? So you said you had a witness to the consent or a witness to the mold?
The mold.
Okay, go on.
In the lease, it states that I can make upgrades, and this house hadn't been...
Right, what does the lease say? Read what your lease says. Read what your lease says. It says that if you make any modifications, you are supposed to send before and after pictures, and it has to be with his express consent.
The lease doesn't state before and afters.
Oh, it so does, honey. Pull your copy of the lease. I'm asking you, Mr. D.
I don't have my lease on me.
How do you not have your lease on you and you look me right in the eye under oath and tell me the lease doesn't say that?
I read over the lease before.
Before court?
Yeah, many times. I mean, this has been an ongoing battle with him.
In preparation for court, you read the lease, but now we're in court. Where is the lease and why isn't it in front of you? You didn't think it'd come up?
Well, I knew I was being sued for the sauna, so I didn't think it was a lease matter. The
lease is exactly what codifies the rights and responsibilities between the two of you. Number 26, the tenant may make improvements to the property as follows. Tenant is allowed to make reasonable improvements to the property for the comfort of himself and or his family, but not remove owner's property without prior agreement. Tenant shall notify owner of any modifications and shall provide before and after pictures via email, and then he lists his email. So I need to ask you, did you ever send him any notification in writing, and did you ever get permission in writing, and did you ever send the before and after pictures? Yes or no?
No.
Okay, now let's move on. That's the sauna. Now let's move on to the fence. According to you, the fence was rotted, and that's why you ripped it out, correct?
Yes.
So I'm going to assume that my answers to everything is you never have consent in writing, because according to you, you didn't even know it was in your lease. So you don't have consent in writing for the sauna, whatever the mower, or the fence. That's correct, right? You don't have any consent in writing.
No. No.
All right, now let's talk about the actual fence. So you have pictures of the fence we're talking about. And what is this? What am I looking at right there?
That's dry rotted
Dietrich.
2x4, 4x4. Sorry.
Is that part of the fence that you took down?
That's what was holding the fence up that broke and was laying there.
Okay. Okay, and what is this?
That shows the status of the fence.
Oh, is the one that's leaning on top of the other one the fence?
All of that is the fence. It's leaning up against the fence that's still good between the two properties.
Yeah, but that's putting some weight on the good fence. All right, so this is the rotted post. All right, let's talk about the mower. What is, he says that there's a mower. Where's the mower?
The mower is across the street.
Why isn't it back at the house? He's told you repeatedly he wants it back.
Well, he knows where it's at and actually talked to the guy across the street, and I never had a problem with it since.
I don't know what you're saying. He called the police on you because he's suing you for the value of the mower because you don't bring it back. What happened when you called the police, Mr. Long?
They told me that Mr. Brandon decided to lie to the investigating officer, saying that he would bring the mower back immediately that afternoon. And unfortunately, this pattern of behavior, Mr. Dietrich is attempting to lie to the court again today. So that's me.
Mr. Dietrich, what's the problem? Did the police tell you bring the mower back?
No, they did not. The police said it's a he said, she said, and they couldn't make a police report. They actually spoke
I'm
to
sorry,
the guy
that's about the sauna. There's no he said, she said. There's no he said, he said. You say his mower was brought by you to a neighbor. That would mean it's on you to get the mower back from the neighbor, because otherwise it's starting to look like maybe you sold it. You understand what I'm saying?
Welcome back to the People's Court. I'm Harvey Levin. The plaintiff is claiming that his tenant is not only squatting, but the guy is stealing from him and he can't get him out of the house. But the defendant says he simply threw out a moldy sauna because the thing was making him sick. Let's go back into the courtroom.
Why would it be on him to go fetch the mower you moved? If you moved it, go get it back. Why haven't you gotten it back?
He hasn't asked me since he talked to
Okay, I'm asking you. I'm giving you a direct order to get that mower back from whoever you loaned it to. You've got 5 days to get that mower back to his property where it belongs. Now, you are suing Mr. Long for $4,000 for a cedar sauna replacement value. When you come to court, what you get is the value of the thing that, got damaged. This is a sauna that was put in by you 15 years ago. And the average life of that kind of sauna is about 15, 20 years.
I will defer to Your Honor's discretion on that one.
Okay, all right. And now on the fence, you're suing for $1,200 on the fence, but I'm looking at pictures where the post was rotted and the fence is right there. That looks to me like something that you have an obligation to repair. I'm not going to order him to pay you $1,200. That's going to be on you to go ahead and, because it's not even, to me, it's not even close. It looks like it was a damaged fence. And whether you fix it or not, I really don't care, but I'm not going to order him to pay you $1,200 on it. And on the sauna, I want to hear Mr. Dietrich tell me about the condition of the sauna, and then I think you have a witness who you want to testify to me about the condition of the sauna. And that would be relevant to the value of the sauna if I'm ruling against you, which I am.
You could see black mold going up the side of the wall. On the panels, the wood panels, it's a wooden sauna.
How many of them were covered in mold?
The rear panel.
Who's coaching you and giving you answers? Who's that person? Switch with them. Let me hear from your witness.
Okay.
It's all right. Hi.
Hi, Your Honor.
Do the honors, please.
Absolutely. Let me get you to raise your right hand, please, sir. You solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Your Honor.
Okay, so let me hear from you. What condition was the sauna in?
The sauna was in disrepair. It had mold on the backside of it, what you couldn't see, that was placed up against the wall.
It had mold which you couldn't see or which you could see?
You could only see it after it was removed.
So there was no mold visible when you started tearing it down? What reason did he give you that he wanted to tear it down?
Because of the odors and the mold.
Okay, switch with your friend. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can I ask you, apparently there were odors. Tell me about the odors.
So within the first week of me staying there, I had trouble breathing, and that's when we were trying to find where the odor was coming from, and that's where we discovered it inside of the sauna.
Okay.
And
here's where the problem lies, though, and Mr. Dietrich, I think it's pretty clear, you don't get to take apart his property without his written consent. He is testifying under oath that he never gave you that consent. So it is incumbent upon you to prove that he gave you the consent. And you cannot prove it because you didn't read the lease carefully enough. You say you did, but you don't even have it in front of you now where it says that. So I'm going to fix a value to that sauna, taking into account the things that I just heard, and I'm going to, and the amount of the age of the sauna and its shelf life, and I am going to award the plaintiff in this case, because you did not follow the lease and you cannot prove permission, $1,000 for the sauna that was ripped out. As to the fence, it's $0 for the reasons I've already stated, and as to the mower, I am ordering you in the next 5 days to get that mower back on his property. Okay? The actual eviction of the defendant is something that is being handled in eviction court down there. It's separate, and I wish everybody luck on that issue. That's my verdict. Good luck, folks.
So the plaintiff prevails to the tune of $1,000. Mr. Dietrich, the defendant, let me ask you, what do you think about the judge's verdict?
I probably should have got everything in writing in the beginning, but I did a lot of upgrades and nothing was in writing in the beginning, and I was told to make the place better, and that was one of the things he told me to do.
And you're being evicted.
For sure.
Are you living there now? You're still there?
I'm still here. I've never missed rent, and I never was late. He's trying to evict me, but I'm appealing it because I want to stay until my lease is up, because that's what we shook hands on before he made a lease agreement.
All right. Well, we'll see how that works out. Time will tell. Mr. Long, how do you feel about the outcome? You were suing for almost $7,000. You only got $1,000. How about that?
Well, clearly the amount's disappointing. What's more disappointing is this young man's propensity to lie to me, lie to local law enforcement, and lie to Judge Million. And that's a sad thing. He's a liar and a thief, and he needs to be booted out.
And you can't get him out? You're trying to get him out, though, right? You think you can?
You know, Doug, I have only legal means at my disposal, legal civil means. So it is what it is. He's a liar, and he'll continue to lie, and I think he's gotten away with that again today, and that's very sad and unfortunate for our community.
Well, all right. I hope you work it out, and I hope things work out for you in the end. Anyway, you do get the money back. And that'll wrap it up for this case. Thank you, Mr. Long. Thank you, Mr. Dietrich. And with that, let's have another session of After the Verdict. Here are the judges.
Well, there are a few lessons that you can take away from a case like this. Certainly one of them is if you're a tenant in an apartment or a home that you've rented, you don't get to just start remodeling and destroying things like this guy's sauna, Mr. Long's sauna, and just remove it and then hope that you don't get in trouble after the fact. I mean, there are certain jurisdictions where people might have criminal liability for this. This could be a grand theft or some kind of malicious destruction of property or criminal mischief. So, you know, the defendant in this case may be lucky that it's just a civil liability he faced for that aspect of the case, right?
Right, absolutely. I mean, you know, it's just a 4-page lease. Right. I know it's onerous to read. Yeah. Read it before you sign it.
It's not like reading a Tolstoy novel.
No, I mean, just read it. You have certain responsibilities and obligations, and just as, you know, as a matter of course, any tenant who's going to affect someone else's property better get it in writing, even if it's just painting. Right. Get it in writing. Get an email, pass the email, get the email back, print the email out, and save it somewhere.
I love this. Rosemary is a faithful People's Court viewer more than 30 years. So here's what she wants to know. I've lent people money over the years and haven't gotten it back. How can I go about it without offending them by bringing them to court? Rosemary, why should you be offended? They stiffed you. It's like they stole from you if they didn't pay you back. You shouldn't be offended at all. You should make a demand, and if the statute of limitations hasn't run, take their butts to court. That will do it for this case. Litigants are inside the courtroom for the next one.